to that dirty South right off the bat. Southern region, number 1, Alabama, number 16, Texas A&M Corpus Christi played their way in today. Mike, Jay, are you starting us off with an upset?
No.
No. Upset confidence in this one, which is a feature that we are bringing to you for the first round of games, is at a 0%. 0%. So
actually,
no explanation needed.
Say more there. Say more about not about the upset confidence on this game, but about upset confidence score in general. What does that metric mean? What is how can people use it?
Yeah, so if you're looking to pick an upset here, right, we take a look at it's going to be based on seeding, so seeds 9 through 16. I don't know if we have a 16 that has a 1%. Maybe there's one out there, but most of your ones are going to be zeros, and then obviously it gets higher and higher. The 8-9s, you're going to find a lot of coin flips, things like that. So we're going to use some KenPom metrics. We're going to take a look at this thing, and if you get into the 40s, mid-30s percentage-wise, that's probably a good shot to take. So, we'll do our best here.
Nice. So the very first game here in the South is not the one to take a stab, a literal 0% upset confidence score. But moving on to the 8-9 matchup, we've actually got a very different score. This one features a 55% upset confidence score. That is number 8, Maryland Terrapins, and number 9, the West Virginia Fighting Huggy Bears. Mike, you want to kick us off here? Tell us a little bit about how this one lines up in terms of the tail of the tape and which side you're picking.
Yeah, I think me and Jay might disagree a little bit on who we got moving forward. This is a classic Big 10, Big 12 matchup here. Like two of the top defenses, right? I mean, Maryland's 33rd in defensive efficiency. West Virginia's 52nd in defensive efficiency. And I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan all year of Jameer Young, how well he's played. I think he can take over a game. The Big 12 was really tough, Jay. Are you feeling more confidence on that side?
Yeah, I'm on the West Virginia side on this one. You talk about Jameer Young from Maryland, but West Virginia's got Eric Stevenson as well to sort of bring that firepower. I think that it's important that we talk about the transfer Trey Mitchell for West Virginia, who can really impact the game in a positive way. And if he's on, I don't think this will be as close as a lot of people are thinking. When we look at the Big 10 versus the Big 12, we talk a lot of trash about the Big 10. I know I do.
Rutgers.
On this one. Yeah, no kidding. But no, man, I'm on the West Virginia side on this one. I just think that the way that Maryland plays with a lot of the ISO ball, doesn't get too many assists from anybody really. I think West Virginia comes out with this one, and they're favored. Seating wise, this is maybe an upset if you look at it, but West Virginia is actually favored in this one, so that's where I am.
Yeah, KenPom's got it -1 here. Haven't seen the actual line yet, but I would imagine it's either even or -1 for either side.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me here. Yeah, it'll be interesting. The Battle of the Bigs, Julian Reese, Dante Scott, how they play against Trey Mitchell, Jimmy Bell. I think an X factor in this game could be Kedrian Johnson on the West Virginia side. Has been playing really well as of late here, can really create havoc on the defensive side. So for our GSM bracket, we will have the West Virginia Mountaineers moving on with a 55% upset confidence here, even though it's an 8-9 matchup.
All right, so we've got our first 2 games in the books. It sounds like this 8-9 matchup is going to be a pretty close one off the top. We will move to one of the fan favorite 5-12 matchups here in the South region. Number 5 is San Diego State, the Aztecs. Number 12 is the team from Charleston that just about everybody seems to be hyping up for one reason or another. Mike, you want to kick us off here? Tell us a little bit about how this one squares up.
Yeah, so if you didn't watch the show the other day, first brackets were released, right? I felt like Charleston was one of the top 4 teams to kind of get that upset confidence. But for me, it's a 20%er here. I don't like this matchup at all against San Diego State. This is really an offensive-defensive matchup. San Diego State's 10th in defensive efficiency. Charleston is 29th in tempo and 9th in three-point rate. San Diego State loves to play a slow down, drag out, knockdown game. So I just don't like the way that rock fight. I just don't like the way that Charleston profiles against San Diego State. So, top 10 in defense, like I don't, Charleston hasn't played a team quite like this. So it'll be interesting. Jay, do you have a similar take, or are you giving Charleston a little more of that upset confidence than 20%?
Usually when everybody's on board with something like an upset like this, when you see there's like 75% of people that are, oh my God, Charleston, that's usually a good sign to go the other way, at least in my experience. I'm on San Diego State side as well. These are two deep teams. Nobody plays over 30 minutes a game on either side. I don't know. It's just the defense for San Diego State for me. It's going to be too much for Charleston to handle. So I have San Diego State as well.
So we've got San Diego State advancing here, but what do you think? What do you think's behind this kind of groundswell of support for the Charleston side? Excuse me.
Yeah, Charleston won 30 games, right? People see that number. I don't know. I think people fall in love with the 12-5. I mean, every year it seems to be the thing, all right? You got there's going to be one or two 12s.
It always is,
And I think this year maybe a little different, just with the matchups that the 12s got. Like if Charleston, was playing, a Creighton or someone like Missouri or Baylor, just really anybody that's not really like built like San Diego State is built. I feel a little bit better calling this out, but I'm just not a fan. KenPom, also not a fan. San Diego State -6 on KenPom. So just too much defense, and Matt Bradley and Darian Trammell, they're going to be able to get their shot off here.
Yeah, it's weird to see all of this attention, but for us, it is a pretty straightforward call. We'll move over to the 4-13 matchup. Virginia Cavaliers, the Furman Paladins. This one we've got as a 40% upset ranking, so a little bit closer of a tilt. This is actually where I think more of the underdog love should be directed. Jay, you want to start us off here? Talk about either the Furman side, round us out with a pick.
Well, I mean, this is the Virginia team that, I like to say can either win the whole thing or lose in the first round. And for me, this season, it's the latter. I mean, Ben Vanderplas out. You gain defense, Virginia does, with Vanderplas out, but you lose that outside shooting. Not that Virginia needs any help on defense, obviously, right? But we talked about this Furman team before with Bothwell and Slauson, really with that star power, those two basically top 100 players in the country for Furman. And this, for me, is where Virginia's season ends. Mike, are you feeling the same way? I just don't. I think there's a reason why our upset confidence is so high. Virginia is favored by 5 by KenPom, but man, I just don't see it happening, and I actually like Furman in this one. Are you on board with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think this one's getting more popular by the day, right? Because people are learning who Mike Bothwell is and Jalen Slauson. If you haven't watched Jalen Slauson, like, this guy is an awesome, versatile, like, 4-man, can even play a little bit of 5 in some matchups here. And that's what they like to do. They like to spread the floor. I was happy to see them get in after that knockout in the conference tournament game last year. They're here now, and this is it's not a perfect matchup for them by any means, right? Virginia, a top 25 defense in the country. I said our upset confidence at a 40%. I'm a lot higher than KenPom. I think this is going to come down to a last possession type game.
Yep.
And also Virginia, like, don't forget, like, say in the second half, like, if Furman were to get up by 7 to 9 points, like, Virginia's not this offensive juggernaut outside of Armand Franklin. Reese Beekman, a great defensive player. Kihei Clark's been there for forever. They're super experienced. And I think that's something that they can draw on. But experience doesn't also necessarily mean anything on the offensive end. You still got to get guys that can get buckets in critical moments. I just worry about that with Virginia. And Furman, obviously, the first time in the tournament in forever. So how are these two stars going to, come out and fare? But the crowds tend to, when you go to these pods, right? It's the other teams that are in the pods that the underdogs get up and they start gaining confidence because you start rooting for that that 4 seed or that 3 seed or that 2 seed to lose, and so they get all that momentum. So yeah, I think this is one of my more confident upset picks. We're gonna know real early because this is one of the first games of Thursday. So. Yeah, I just like Furman here, and I like their combination of stars here.
Yep.
So we will sweep it with the Paladins. And I mean, we talk about this a lot with Tennessee, right? Like these slow, plotting, defensive-minded teams, they're going to find themselves competitive in a lot of games, but those games can swing one way or the other, right? And a team like Furman that has the star power is definitely the type of team that they can, get out to an early run. It'll be hard for Virginia to catch up. Our guy Myron checking in on YouTube tends to agree, right? This defense first Virginia side, they fall behind. It could be good night for them quickly. Myron also liking the Mountain West. So we'll definitely talk more about those teams as we go through the rest of the bracket. We also got Kevin back and checking in.
Hey, Kevin.
What's up, Kevin?
He's wondering why Virginia is a 4 seed. I don't know if either of you have any commentary as to maybe some greased palms or some envelopes left on desks or whatever it might be.
They're a solid team. They're just ugly. It's just ugly to watch, right? And Myron, I think you left hit me up on Twitter. Yeah, you're right, man. Like Virginia's not built to play in comebacks. They're built to control the game. And a team like Furman doesn't really care. Like they're here to they're here to wreak havoc, and I think they're going to. It'll be interesting to see how they handle Slauson here. It's going to be a fascinating story.
Absolutely. And we got our guy Ted checking in. This is the guy who's making all of our words look nice and pretty over at drroto.com. He's ready to fill out that winning bracket. Ted, Kevin, Myron, definitely appreciate you guys getting up in those comments. Drop us some more comments as we go through the show. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We will carry on to maybe my favorite first round matchup in the entire tournament. Number 6 Creighton, the Blue Jays, facing off against the NC State Wolfpack. This one should be relatively close. We've got a 33% upset confidence score. But either way, I think that these are both teams that can get red hot and be real scary down the stretch run. Mike, you want to kick us off with how this one squares up?
Oh, man, I hate that these two are playing each other in the first round. We talked about it the other day when we previewed this game.
Man, this would be an awesome Sweet 16 matchup, right?
Yeah, seriously. But both of these teams kind of fell on their face late in the year, and that's where we're at. Creighton started off, top 5 team. We talked about Baylor Shireman being added to this squad of young players. Kalkbrenner as a defensive stalwart there with a growing offensive game. And Kalkbrenner went out. They went on that losing streak middle of the year, and then he came back, and it looked like they were going to win the Big East, and all of a sudden fell flat on their face. And here we are, a 6 seed. So both of these teams feel like they're maybe talent-wise seeded two to 3 slots lower than what they probably should be. NC State coming in at 11. We were super high on them early in the year. We wrote them up as a team to watch out for. Kevin Keith's done a great job getting Jarkel Joyner in the transfer portal and getting Terquavian Smith back. There's just stars all over the court here. And Jay, I'm excited to watch this one, man. It's tough, man. I just wish they weren't playing each other, but this is one that I think it's 3 p.m. on Friday that I'm going to be locked into.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit different feeling on this one. I like the NC State side. Like you mentioned, Jarkel Joyner, getting him out of the portal, Terquavion Smith. Like this is star power all around. Yeah, like, okay, who's going to guard Kalkbrenner, right? Like, I get that. But if DJ Burns, DJ Burns is on that offense, man. Like, what'd you say?
With those little nimble feet.
yeah, no kidding, man. If DJ Burns is on and Joyner and Smith are at the top of their game, I think this could go the other way. Again, this is one of those that, like you said, you wish this was happening 2 rounds later. These are 2 star-laden teams, And I think this is more of a closer to a coin flip than that 33%. And I actually like NC State in this one. But again, if you're off work on Friday, like me, like this guy, make sure that you, or even if you're not, do that little browser trick where you click the little button and it hides the shit or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I got NC State coming out of this one myself in my bracket, but
yeah, I don't know, Jay. I don't know. Does
that
love.
mean I get to be the tiebreaker here?
No, you don't, because I'm gonna come back with this real quick. You can tie break in just a second, but it's Creighton, man. Like you brought up like DJ Burns. I have a feeling he's gonna get run off the court here, because I don't know who he's gonna guard. He's too small to guard Kalkbrenner. He's not going to guard Baylor Shireman. They're not going to put him on Kaluma. So I worry that you're only going to get 15 minutes of DJ Burns. I just, you need his offense, but DeWanna, you probably need his defense with all these, basically Creighton's playing with 4 guards, even though Shireman's like a 6'8", Swiss Army knife that can shoot the 3. So DeWanna's probably going to have to be out there.
Burns and DeWanna probably can't.
No,
they probably can't run them out there at the same time at all, even in this matchup, right?
I mean, unless you want Burns to try to guard Kalkbrenner, but
that's tough.
Like the DeWanna like Shireman's the guy here that I think is the difference because of how versatile he is. You got to pick one of those guys. Do you want the offense and suffer with Kalkbrenner destroying you on the boards and hopefully DJ Burns can get him in foul trouble maybe. That might be their best bet is trying to go to DJ Burns early and often. Honestly, their best bet is just hoping Traquavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner just go nuclear.
Yeah, well, no, and I think that might happen. And I like what you said here before we move on. The Burns thing, like the strategy, I think that's exactly what it should be. Get him out there early on, get the ball in his hands early in the game. If it ain't working, then yeah, okay, I understand it. But why not? You're not going to be able to trust him down the stretch to be on the floor to make stops. So get him out there early in the game. Tell him to get his shots up. And if NC State can get out early in this one, I think that's their best opportunity to win, and I think they have a good chance to do it.
Eric, to break this tie, my guy.
Now's my time to tie break. Yeah, honestly, I mean, Mike, you brought up a lot of the points that I wanted to raise on the Creighton side. Like, they're not only incredibly deep, but they're incredibly versatile, right? Like, this team can switch and guard any position and adjust really in any variety of ways. And while DJ Burns is having a fantastic season, a lot of those fleet feet, a lot of those tiptoeing in my Jordans is really helping him on the offensive side. I do think that he's going to get into defensive and foul trouble pretty quickly. So I will serve as tiebreaker. I will go ahead and click the button on Creighton. But I think the thing that reigns true here is exactly what Myron said in the chat, right? Either of these teams, Creighton or NC State, whichever one of these teams advances, I like them to get hot and to go on a run, right? So this one should be pretty close overall. If it is NC State, I tend to agree they can also go on a run. Nobody's going to want to see Creighton in the second or later rounds. So definitely a fun way to kick off the March Madness season with this matchup. Our next matchup coming in is the 3-14 matchup. Mike's beloved Baylor Bears and the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. This one is not quite as close as some people are saying out there. I think there's a bit of support brewing for the Gauchos, maybe just on namesake alone. Before we jump into this one, Mike, let's clean up some of these comments. We got Albert checking in with the good evening, and Samuel also checking in. Is Creighton the team that Bailey kid is a sharpshooter? I think. Well, Mike, I'll toss over to you. I think you might be thinking of Amari.
Yeah, Baylor. Bailey. Amari Bailey. Yeah, Baylor Shireman. Yes, he is the sharpshooter. He played my Texas team here in Austin, and he didn't do anything for like 35 minutes. And then the last, Jay, I think you were watching that game, the last 4 minutes of the game, he had 3 or 4 threes. Yeah. Man, the fit has kind of been questionable, but man, just the roster, the starting 5 with Creighton, find me 10 starting 5s that you would rather have than Creighton. So I don't know. I like Creighton. I still have faith in them. It's dwindled a little bit. If you can get odds on them right now for a Final Four, go get them. Like, absolutely. So, yeah, and I like that comment, Myron, about Burns he's going to be an X factor. If he can get Kalkbrenner in foul trouble, he's going to be able to stay on the floor a lot more because, the backup king there, he's not much, on both ends of the floor. So maybe something to take advantage of. But yeah, let's slide over to this Gauchos that Ken Palm has as a 9-point underdog, but this is not a good matchup for Baylor. All right, so what have we been banging the drum on all season, right, is that Baylor's backcourt is not defending anybody at all. Keontae George he's just wanting to get his shot up. He's wanting to shoot 1,000 3-pointers. LJ Cryer's 5'10", like he can get some things going offensively. Adam Flagler 6'2", 6'3", not much of a defender. This isn't the Baylor team that we saw, a few years ago. It was Jared Butler and Davian Mitchell, who were just like absolute monsters on the defensive end and could do some things obviously offensively. This is more of an offensive-minded Baylor team, and we talked about it, Jay, the other day. Like, when was the last time we've seen a Scott Drew team? In the 100s, not even in the top 100 in defensive efficiency overall. Kind of crazy to me. UC Santa Barbara was really hoping this team would get in. Over the offseason, they got Andre Kelly from Cal, who was Cal's best player, which I don't know if that's saying a lot, but he's a pretty solid player, right? He's come in and he's averaged 10 points and 6 rebounds. And then look, like, Baylor's going to have a hard time with AJ Mitchell. Like, he's someone that's probably going to burst onto the scene here. If he can go for 20 and 8 in this matchup. He's a mid-major star at guard here. So I don't know, man. Like, this just, I know Ken Palm is like, this is almost going to get to double digits, but my upset confidence is 40%, and I really like this matchup for UC Santa Barbara. Jay, are you feeling me at all? Is it a little bit much? Are there any other disadvantages you see for Baylor?
Well, I think this is a shootout game. I think this goes over the number, and I think that but I do think it's a closer one. Like, the line itself, I believe Vegas is 10.5 right now, or that's BetMGM is at 10.5 right now.
Grab the 10.5.
Take those points for sure. But I'm actually going to stay on the Baylor side of this. When you look at the 3-point shooting, you got Keontae George and Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, everybody out there just shooting the lights out of the gym. I know that they don't play any defense, like none. Like, it's bad, right? And it didn't really, watching as much Baylor as we did, it didn't really hit me until like midway through the Big 12 schedule, just how bad on defense that they are. But I do think that Baylor is tested. Baylor is ready to go here. I do not think that this is a first-round exit for them. I'm sticking with Baylor in this one. But a Serena Williams, Kim Kardashian-sized butt. I do like the confidence on the upset being higher in this one, and I wouldn't be mad at anybody for picking those Gauchos. I can't do it. I'm sticking with Baylor.
Ooh, you guys are putting me in a tough spot to tie break on this one. I actually look. I like, first and foremost, I like having a bit of fun in the first round. So that means that I shade towards upsets a little bit more. But also, I mean, these Gauchos, like, they're a big team. They play pretty well against D1 competition, right? So, like, I don't think they're going to be outclassed. And I mean, this just feels like, despite all the talent, this is really, one of the lower, kind of down years for Baylor that we've seen, right? So, the experience that comes with UC Santa Barbara that we tend to see on these, kind of lower ranked teams in general, that, these guys have been playing together for a while. They're older in general. I think there's enough things that, you can cobble together an argument for the 14 to upset the 3. And that's where I'm going. I'm going with the Gauchos here. So let's have them advance. Might be a different tale when they face off against Creighton in the next round, but we will save that conversation for later. We'll jump into our next first round matchup. That is number 7, the Missouri Tigers, and Utah State coming in as a 10 seed. Earlier, Myron was asking us about this Mountain West. So we've got our first team to break down from that conference. This one feels like it should be pretty close to a coin flip. Mike, you want to talk us through how this one matches up?
Yeah, I have the upset confidence at 50%, but Ken Palm likes Utah State, the 10 seed, -4. And it's pretty easy why you can see that from a metric standpoint. Missouri doesn't guard the 3 very well, and Utah State shoots the 3 pretty well. So those two things combined, right? Utah State's 11th in three-point shooting. Like Missouri has trouble cleaning up the glass, and it's crazy that Missouri is even this bad defensively. Especially when you have DeMoy Hodge, who's a really good defensive player. Kobe Brown's pretty versatile as a big man. So, yeah, I think the Mountain West was super strong this year. I mean, Ken Palm had them higher than the ACC in strength of conference. So, could I see Utah State, pulling this off? Absolutely. And they probably should be favored, but I don't know. I feel like Missouri does have a lot of weapons at their disposal. I really, really like DeMoy Hodge. I wonder how Utah State's going to cover Kobe Brown. Like, he seems like a mismatch on the offensive side, and he's someone that we have seen throughout this year go absolutely bonkers, for 25 and 10s. So, I just worry that, Utah State just shooting all these 3. You live by the 3 sometimes, you can die by the 3. And they got some perimeter defenders in Nick Honor and DeMoy Hodge that can kind of slow them down. So kind of feels like it's saying an upset that the 7 is going to beat the 10, but that's where I'm at, Jay. Is that you taking a similar line here? Is the wrong team favored? I don't know.
No, I like Utah State here, actually. When you look at the three-point shooting, like you mentioned, they've got 4 guys that shoot at least 37% from 3. They don't defend the 3 very well. I do think Kobe Brown gets his. I think Kobe Brown is an absolutely monster game, but I don't think it's enough for Missouri to get it done. I just think that this is going to be a shootout. I mean, this total is, 154 and a half right now.
Yeah,
like this is going to be quite a shootout, and I do think Kobe Brown gets his, but I think the outside shooting from Utah State will be too much. Even though they don't defend the 3 very well, I do think that they're going to get it done here. I like Utah State.
Eric, you wanna break our tie here, man? Come on,
I got a feeling I know where this is going to go here.
Too many double-digit seeds in the South region.
What I will say is that Utah State has a lot of the things that I look for in an early round upset, right? Like they play at a slower pace. They're really effective from 3. They're pretty good at turning the ball over, right? Like those are all the things that I generally look for. But on the other side, Missouri is going to be pacing them up, right? So even if Missouri is making 2s when Utah State is making 3s, there are going to be enough possessions to where that math is probably going to swing back in favor of the Tigers. And I mean, you've got Dennis Gates there, right? He's a veteran coach. He's performed very well in his time at Missouri. You've got some star power with Kobe Brown. I do think this one is an absolute toss-up, but I'm gonna err on the side of Mizzou with this one. Like how Kobe Brown's playing, like their experience coming through the SEC. But I mean, this is a neck and neck race down to
Utah State also lost
the final possession.
Yeah, Utah State also lost to SMU and Weber State in non-conference. So,
a couple of bad losses there. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think we got to go with Missouri, guys, moving forward. With the step on Jay again.
We got a couple people checking in the chat though. Myron's back. He's got Utah State making a run. He's got them as an Elite 8 team. Kevin's got them advancing here, but falling in the next round to Arizona. So there seems to be some love for those Aggies from Utah State. We in our official bracket are going to go with the lower seed pseudo underdog, the Missouri Tigers. Game that should be not nearly as close and shouldn't have quite as much contention. Number 2 seed Arizona Wildcats, and our first member coming in from the Ivy League, the 15th seed Princeton side. Mike, is this one as far down as a 0 in the upset confidence score, or is there a little bit more hope for Princeton?
I think we'll go with Myron's comment here. We'll give a 1% upset confidence, not a 0. We'll give him a 1%. He's in here saying that they should, but I see Arizona getting exposed. So he was talking about Utah State beating Arizona. They blew their chance last year. Yeah, I don't know if I quite see that, but that is March Madness, right? Where anything can happen. We can just tear up our brackets after the first weekend.
Myron, you're not going to like my bracket, buddy. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a preview right now. You're not going to like where this one goes for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I think we need to move Arizona a third.
Yep, same. Not a lot of talk needed here. Arizona is a juggernaut. Pac-12 champs. They win easily here.
Yep, I tend to agree there. So we are on to the second round, the first game of which, before we get into it, if you're checking in on YouTube, keep those comments coming. We love hearing your thoughts in the chat. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. And I don't know if everyone out there is filling out their brackets rather on NCAA.com. You got to love the boss button there, right? The switches over, throws up a little
boss
PowerPoint
button. That's what it's called.
Yeah, like you gotta have those quick fingers when you're trying to get a little hoops action in the middle of the work day. So definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate everyone checking in on YouTube. Our first matchup of the second round, we've got a 1-9 matchup, Alabama and West Virginia. Probably going to go a little bit faster through this second round. So, Mike, any quick hitters that you want to share on that side?
Yeah, I think it's just Alabama. Too much for West Virginia. Jay, are you feeling pretty similar to that? I don't really like this matchup.
It's a bad matchup for West Virginia. Alabama's too good here. I'll go Bama as well.
All right. Pretty straightforward. Alabama advancing past West Virginia. The 5-13 matchup is the next one that we want to lay out here. This one might carry a bit more intrigue. To remind, that is the Aztecs of San Diego State making their way across the face-off against our first upset, those Furman Paladins. Jay, I see you rubbing your hands over there in anticipation. You want to kick us off with your thoughts on this matchup?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your double-digit seed to make it to the Sweet 16. It's Furman. Mike, you hit on them losing in the conference on the conference title game last year, the half-court buzzer beater. Then they took care of business this year. I just think that this is a team that is eager to make a little bit of noise. Just all around star power again at this time of the year. I love the star power. San Diego State doesn't give up a ton of threes. Furman shoots the three ball really, really well. This will be like a strength versus strength thing. And I like Furman to come out of this one and advance to play Alabama. What say you, Mike?
Can't do it, man.
Come on.
Can't do it. For just the sake that San Diego State, I think they have more of the bigs that they can and versatility defensively to throw at Slauson to slow him down. And then you can't forget Matt Bradley and Darian Trammell, like two pretty good scorers on the offensive end. So I just think they have a little bit more as far as what they can throw at Furman. So yeah, we got to have San Diego State moving on here. Eric, you feeling the same way?
Do we have to have San Diego State moving on here?
Yeah,
we do, right? I think Furman advancing says much more about our lack of confidence in Baylor than it does in supreme confidence in the Paladins. I do think that they are a sneaky team, right? I think that they can not only advance past that first game, they can look really good in this game. But that shortcoming for Baylor was the defensive side. San Diego State is much more capable on the defensive end of the ball. And also, they have that same 2-pack of star powers with Bradley and with Trammell to go up against the Paladins' own star powers. So I'll break the tie. I'll go with San Diego State advancing. That moves us to the bottom half of this bracket. Number 6, Creighton. Number 14, UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. Mike, how do you like this one to shake out?
Yeah, I don't like the matchup for the Gauchos in this one. I'm just high on Creighton, like the way Jay is high on TCU. I'm high on Creighton, man, as a 6 seed that can just do some absolute damage here. I just think Baylor Shireman's just a bit much. Jay, I know you had said you liked North Carolina State, but in this scenario here, where Creighton would match up with UC Santa Barbara, you feeling the same way?
Yeah, Creighton would be too much. Shireman would just overpower everybody in this matchup. So yeah, I'll for our bracket, for our GSM bracket, I'll definitely be on the Creighton side for this matchup.
Let's sweep that one and have the Jays advance. Our last second round matchup here, we have number 2 Arizona, the Wildcats, facing off against number 7, the Missouri Tigers. Jay, you want to kick us off here with any thoughts on this tilt?
Yeah, definitely. Arizona is a team that they're just playing so good right now. I don't see them losing for a while, if at all. So I like Arizona here, definitely. Again, I love teams that are coming in on winning their conference tournament. Arizona gets up and down here. I think this is Arizona's game to lose here, no matter who they play. Missouri, because I have Utah State in this matchup here in my bracket, but I don't think Missouri can do enough to hold off Arizona here. Mike, are you feeling the same?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona is basically Missouri, but with 2 really good bigs and plays actual defense for the most part. So
yeah,
other than those 2 things, they're pretty much Missouri. So if Missouri can figure out how to get another star big man and learn how to defend, then they would be Arizona at some point. So, but yeah, let's have Arizona moving on.
We've said it a lot. I'll say it here again. Styles make fights, right? This is a perfect matchup for Arizona, whereas we like the matchup for Missouri in the round prior. So we are on to the Sweet 16. Start with the 1-5 matchup: Alabama Crimson Tide, San Diego State Aztecs. Mike, anything else that you can say about these 2 teams, and how do you like this one to shake out?
I mean, a battle of 2 top 10 defenses. I just like Alabama's path. Like they got the 1 seed, and seems like you got a pretty straightforward road here to get there. I don't know, Jay. San Diego State plays tough defense. They can muck this game up for sure. But Alabama just has so many options.
Too much firepower, more athletes. And our guy, Brandon Miller, who we've poked a little bit of fun at, and a lot of people have, but he's a friggin' ball player. Yeah. I think Alabama will just be too much in this spot.
I agree there. I think the star power will rise to the top. Solid year and solid run for the Aztecs. Let's get to the bottom half of this bracket. This one is going to be one of my patented rock fights. We got the number 2 seed Arizona, the number 6 seed Creighton. Really intriguing matchup. Anything that you think we need to call out specifically about how this one plays out, Mike?
I mean, man, if we got these 2 teams like early in the year, which I believe we did, I believe that was during the Maui Invitational, if I'm not mistaken here. I'm going to pull this up real quick and see how this game turned out here, because I remember it being a dandy here. So Creighton ended up winning. I think this was the final, the Maui Invitational final. It was 81-79 Creighton. I remember it being just an awesome, awesome game. I think it was Courtney Ramey's second game back, if I'm not mistaken. Nimhart had an excellent game, 20 points, 6 assists. Baylor Shireman had 11 points, 11 rebounds, 3 steals, 4 assists. Like, he's just an awesome difference maker. On the other side, though, Omar Ballo was in the midst of like that breakout, 30 points, 10 rebounds. It's tough. Like Kalkbrenner, it's tough for him and Shireman, as a stretch forward to try to, handle Tabellis and Ballo. You have to basically pick your poison between the two guys. So, yeah, I think, man, it pains me. It pains me. Like, I really like this Creighton team, but I think I'm with Jay here. Like, it's just probably too much Arizona. They got to figure out the bigs here, unless Shireman can do something to stretch the floor and really.
Well, he might be able to, but again, like Tubelis and Ballo, I mean, it's a lot for any team to handle. I think Arizona takes care of business there too.
Oh man, I was hoping it would be a tie and I could be the Creighton tiebreaker. I'll go with Arizona because majority rules here, but my concern about Arizona being able to be game planned around for those two bigs, for Ballo and Tubelis, is well documented. If nothing else, leaves us with a pretty interesting final matchup here in this regional. Before we get there, our guy Anthony G checking back in. He's with me on the Creighton bandwagon.
Yeah,
he thinks they actually fall to Houston in the final.
Wow.
So he might even be more bullish on these Blue Jays than I am. Kevin D tends to agree the 6th seed for Creighton is crazy. There are plenty of 3s and 4s in this year's bracket that I would much rather see lining up on the other side of the court for me than I would for Creighton.
Virginia
should be a close one there. Yeah, Tennessee should be a pretty close one there in the Sweet 16. We will move on to the Elite 8. Kind of a winding road to get there, but we end up with a pretty chalky matchup: 1-2 Alabama Crimson Tide, Arizona Wildcats. Mike, you want to kick us off here? Who do you have making their way out of the region?
Yeah, so for this region, I think it ends up being chalk, the 1-2. But the way that it gets there, this is the bracket where stuff gets
not
destroyed.
The destination,
right?
It's the journey, right?
Exactly. But I mean, North Carolina State could blow this thing up. Utah State could blow this thing up. UC Santa Barbara could blow this thing up. Furman could blow this thing up. And if the people that pick Charleston to actually get this thing done and they actually do it, this is the upset region right here. So, yeah, I mean, for this purposes between Alabama and Arizona, it's just Alabama has so many bigs, right? Like we talked about it, like Bediako, they got Clowney, like Gurley, they dusted him off the other day and he came out there and had a nice game. So I think that they have the bigs to kind of match up with Arizona. Jay, I know you're pretty bullish. You have Alabama, Arizona in your personal bracket here, and have Arizona advancing?
I do, yeah. I actually have Arizona moving forward here. So, our guy Myron in the chat, that's what I was sort of getting at earlier. Myron wasn't going to like the way that this region played out because I know he's not a big fan of Arizona. But I definitely am for sure. I think this is a team playing hot at the right time. Yeah, Alabama's good. But Mike, I always like to say that you like to say that once you get past the Sweet 6 or into the Sweet 16, anything can happen. I think Arizona goes on this run in this region and gets it done. I have the Wildcats beating that Crimson Tide.
Eric, man, let's say you on this one too, man. Who are we putting in here?
Man,
don't do it.
I couldn't bounce the Wildcats from my Blue Jays, so I will exact revenge. But not only that, I mean, my same concern remains with Arizona, right? I think you can scheme around them. Obviously, a team as talented and as efficient as Alabama is perfectly capable of doing so. So I will break the tie. I'll have the number 1 seed advance out of the South region and head to the Final Four.